Hi guys, good morning. Today I am taking a little break from John and I am looking at Luke chapter 5 verses 1 through 11, and it's just something that the Lord put on my heart to this morning actually in prayer, and so I'm just going to go into that. So Luke 5 verses 1 through 11. So here we find Jesus teaching a large group of people. So they're following him. He's trying to teach. And then we also find some of his fishermen friends washing out their nets after a hard night's work, which had amounted to a whole lot of nothing, namely no fish. So they fished all night. They didn't catch anything. So here we are. And so these guys were done. They were done. D-O-N-E, done. They had been fishing. They'd done more fishing, and then they fished some more. All night. Nothing. They were done. And so I think like we can all relate, right? Sometimes we're just done. Just done. We've tried. We've tried. We've tried. Nothing we've tried has produced the intended result. You know, we've dotted our I's. We've crossed our T's. We've followed the rules. We did it, you know, the best way with the best effort that we could possibly figure out how to do, and so we're done. Washing our hands of it all. These guys, they were washing out their nets. That's where they were. We think maybe, you know, we should just try something else altogether, right? We've all been there. Like, for these guys, they're probably thinking, like, maybe we should start cooking fish for a living or something instead of trying to catch it. That's what it is when you're done. Okay, so here's these guys. But Jesus was there. He was there. Consider that. Jesus was there in that place with them. He sat in Simon Peter's boat, and he asked Simon to push him out to the water so the people could see him while he was teaching, because it gets a little crazy when there's lots and lots of people all around you. So he goes out to the water where he could be seen by more people, and he sits in Peter's boat. Now, Jesus was using a boat that was made for fishing to work on the souls of a massive amount of people. He's using Simon's small, insignificant, should have been able to at least catch one fish in this stupid sailboat. He's using that boat to win souls. So Jesus is using Simon's resource. He's using the smallest thing, the very thing Simon was seriously disgusted with, to steal the show. Simon sought fish, but Jesus was seeking after souls. So what an honor, right? What an absolute honor. That's the thing I think of when I read this. Jesus was using Simon even when he was most defeated, even when he was seriously disgusted, even when he felt like he had worked and worked and worked and worked for no return at all. Consider where Simon Peter is in his own state. Yet Jesus uses his empty, no fish to be found boat to fill the hearts and minds of many, many people. So if that boat had been full of fish, the fish that Simon so desired and worked for so long to find, where would Jesus have sat? There would have been no room for him to sit, to teach, to test, and no tides to miraculously turn for Simon himself. So let's get that in our mind there. So Luke 5:4 says this, "And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, 'Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch.'" When he was finished speaking, Jesus gave Simon some instructions. When he was finished speaking. We have to wait on the Lord. We do. We don't like it. But we can't rush him or his ways. He's got men to make. That's what he's doing. And that ain't easy. That ain't easy, boys. So we've got to wait until he's done talking, and then we will see what he's going to give us to do. Still, when he says this to Simon Peter, put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. I can feel it. I felt that, man. I felt it in the depths of my soul. Before I even opened my Bible to read this passage this morning, the Spirit of God spoke these words into the depths of my soul. And when I went to God in prayer, this verse sunk down into the deepest places where only Jesus Christ can reach me. And he said these words, put down into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And in that moment, I knew what he was saying. And I just cried. I just cried out to the Lord, like, no, Lord, like, you don't know what you're asking. No more nets, no more fish, no more work, no more trying, no more trusting, no more waiting. No, don't ask me this. No more. I'm done. Don't you see where I am, Lord? And can you see Simon? What could he have been thinking? I bet he was saying in his mind, Jesus, how can you even ask this of me? Can't you see? Don't you know what I've been? Sure you know. I know that you know you're God, right? Like, we know him, and he knows us. And so when he says these things, it's just like, it reaches down into your soul, right? But you know what else? I bet Simon was at the wedding where Jesus made the water turn into wine. I bet he heard Mother Mary when she said, do whatever he tells you to those water fetching servants. And I bet he got to watch what happened next. So Peter doesn't argue. And truth be told, I didn't argue with God either. I just sat in his presence and considered what it was he was asking me. And so Peter doesn't argue. He does give a short disclaimer, kind of like I did. In the unlikely case that Jesus didn't see or know what he had just worked and worked and worked and tried and tried and tried with all his best efforts all night for. And when I say all night, I mean all night. The time when it is most dark, most lonely, most difficult, and most discouraging. So he adds his doubt-filled disclaimer and he obediently submits. And so this is what he says. And Simon answered, Master, we toiled all night and took nothing, but at your word, I will let down the nets. Luke 5:5. But at your word, I will let down the nets. At your word, Jesus, I trust your word more than my own dark doubts. I trust your word more than my own deep discouragement. I trust your word more than I disbelieve in my own future success. I trust your word no matter what you say. So I will do it, Jesus. I will do whatever you say. You're the leader here. You're the boss. I will do whatever you say because I trust your word more than my own defeated work. It's not worth much anyway, right? And when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats so that they began to sink. Luke 5, 6, and 7. Jesus brought the harvest. Jesus is Lord of the harvest. Jesus is the kind of guy who will sit in our empty, fishless boat and ask us to push him out in it when we are most discouraged. He will ask us to wait until he's done teaching. He will wear us down until we come to the place where his word means more to us than any of our own feelings and any of our own failures. Then he will ask us to trust him enough to obey it. After all that, then, and only then, he will bring the harvest. We don't bring the harvest. He brings the harvest. And then he will fill our boats. Then he will show us what our life has all been for. Because fishing for food is for our kingdom. Fishing for souls is for his. So finally, Peter sees. He falls down on his knees and he sees his own sin. He sees his lack of trust in the face of a very true and faithful Savior. So much so that he tells Jesus to leave. He can't even bear the sight of such a good and worthy God. And that's what it is when the goodness of God utterly overwhelms a slow-to-learn sinner like me, like Simon Peter, right? Did you ever take the time to really consider what it will be like on the day when Jesus really gives you what you've been praying and working and spending your whole self for all this time, which, of course, if you're in the kingdom, is nothing other than save souls? Like, do you ever think about that? Like, I've thought about this. And what will it look like when they're all lined up, pointing at you and waving from a place of eternal security? And how ashamed am I really going to be of all my doubt and distrust of Jesus' goodness, his power, and his ultimate plan for me? How ashamed would I be if I could see them all right now? And I think about that. But you know, this is how Jesus called his men. It wasn't when they showed the most strength. It wasn't when they were most winning. It was after they had been tried and tested, discouraged and defeated, distrusting and doubtful of God's very goodness to them. That's where obedience to God's word works monumental miracles. And so, you know, Jesus wants us to trust him. He wants our trust. And if we don't trust him, then who else is going to trust him, right? It's in the place where our own pride finally dies and we resolve to just do whatever he says, regardless of how we really feel about it. And you know what? When we get to that place, I think we can look back and really see so much that God has done. And we can really have a lot of hope for the future, because it's not about what I want. It's not about what anyone else wants. It's about what God wants. And it's about what God wants from me. And if I'm doing that, and if he's using me, regardless of how the external circumstances look to anyone else, including myself, then I win, right? Then I have overcome the world, right? And that's the goal. That's the goal. And Jesus has already done that for us. So, to trust in him. And so at that point, you know, he tells Peter at the end of the day, he says, do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching men. You got it, Peter. Like, now you can follow me rightly, because now you understand how I operate and who it's really about. So from now on, you'll be catching men, and we will. If we see Jesus rightly, if we obey his word rightly, no matter how we feel about it, no matter how discouraged we might be, no matter how defeated the world has tried to make us, if we just trust his word anyway, if we just submit anyway, if we just obey anyway, God is going to bring the harvest, and he is going to use us. He's going to use our small, insignificant, little tiny resources, just like the little boy with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves. He's going to use whatever it is we have, and he is going to bring monumental miracles out of it. He's going to bring many souls into the kingdom through our willingness to submit, to obey, and to be used of him, no matter what that looks like, no matter how hard that might be for us personally. So we will be catching men. It's going to be awesome. So keep your head up, and just remember who Jesus is. He is good. He is good even when life doesn't seem good. He is good. We can trust him. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you guys have a good day. See you later.